The most prestigious Czech and Slovak virtual racing series is back. 20 of the best drivers from Czechia and Slovakia. 12 races at some of the most famous circuits in the world. Who is going to become the new champion? This is the Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP 2022 season. Hello and welcome back to the Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP 2022 season. We've reached the final race in the Mercedes-AMG GT3, and not just for this year, because next season we'll have the all-new Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo. My name is Justin Sutton, and joining me today, it is, of course, Chris Buxton.
We bid a fond farewell to the ever-loyal AMG GT3, and it is Stefanko up top. 3 wins in a row for the ESET driver, and then it's the ERT racing pair of Lucas and David Pichardo, with current champion Lucas Buxton 4th, his teammate Martin Siratek right with him in 5th position. But there's battling all the way through the field. We always say this, and there's even more drivers scoring points this season than we've seen in previous years. So absolutely great to see that everyone is fighting for every point they can find. Even down to, there's a new name at the bottom, Adam Peter. We will go into him very, very shortly. Team-wise, ERT right up top as still fending off the advances of ESET, but only 17 points gap there. Then a bit of a gap to Entropic. We still have another 6 rounds after tonight to deal with, so they have plenty of time to chase that down. Legion is not out of it either. Mecha Rawforsim right there in 5th position.
Here are the conditions presenting themselves for our first race at Hockenheim. You can see 26 degrees Celsius air temperature, 32 degrees Celsius track temperature, partly cloudy, 7 kph is the wind speed.
Lucas Pichardo and Martin Siratek, front row. That's a great one for Martin. Lucas Buxton, great effort there on 3rd. Stefanko in 4th. Can he make it? 4 wins on the bounce. David Pichardo, Maris Svoboda, what a great effort there, 6th. Martin Nadlig and Adam Pilo, maiden race in the series. Great effort there in 8th. Thomas Horror, Peter Homak. Olja Stepanovsky right their way down into the Eric Vizzi, another difficult run for him. Maracek, Abanchik, Vakulchik, good to see him again. Shimbera, Kiesel, Lehman and Brunner take us right the way down to 20th. Now, this is our series' first ever trip to Hockenheim, and this is a brilliant circuit, but we do have some news about some drivers, don't we, Mr. Justin?
Yes, that's right. Michael Lehman, who we saw right at the back of the grid, actually isn't even going to be starting from the grid. He's supposed to start from the pit lane, in fact, due to a penalty last time out. As you mentioned, Adam Pilo joins the Mecha Alfredsson to replace the injured Martin Krejci, unfortunately. And Joseph Vakulchek joins ESET to replace Thomas Korony. So Vakulchek, of course, is a name that we are familiar with. We have seen him before. Good to see him back in the series.
Absolutely. Now, it's only a short rolling start for this one. We're coming through the Sachs curve now. Some track maps have corner names, some have corner numbers. The one I'm using is corner names, and God help me, because of course they're all in German, and I apologise for my pronunciation in advance. So we are really going to be looking forward to some overtaking, particularly into the hairpin, about halfway through the lap, but there's going to be great jostling throughout the entire race.
Here we go. Lucas Pichardo is going to lead them away. Martin Siratek from 2nd position. Oh, but that's the other Entropic car. Lucas Buxton dropping way down. An absolutely terrible start for him. He's down at, that must be 7th, 8th position. He's side by side through turn 1, through the Nord curve as well, as he goes on the attack to the Lenovo Legion car. But that's Buxton losing a number of positions off of the start of the race. Your 2021 season champion slipping down lots of places at the start. Really surprising to see. I have to say about that one, you can see his teammates still holding on to that 2nd place, and then I believe it's Stefanko that has moved up into 3rd as we get down towards that turn 6 hairpin for the first time in the race here, Chris. We fully expect that's probably going to be the most likely position in place for overtakes to happen. Let's see if we have any here on the opening lap.
Oh, various bonsais going on towards the tail end of it. Couldn't quite make that work, though. I couldn't quite see who that was actually trying to make the move. But yeah, my goodness me, Podstarter, awful stars, hung on to 5th just about. But starting in 3rd, you do not expect to see that. And look at that, that's Thomas Horror fending off the advances of David Pichada. David Pichada's not started particularly well this time around. Whoa, that's very deep from one of the Benzina cars. I think it's Stepanovsky that's gone a little bit deep. Coming into the first part of the stadium, has just about managed to hang on to that. Lucas Pichada has very much had a good start, hanging on to the top. Martin Siratek right with him. Stefanko in hot pursuit in 3rd. Well, that's someone kicking. I think that was
Maricek?
I think it might have been Maricek, yeah. I don't think it was Horror. No, there's Horror, so it was Maricek, yeah, well spotted. Kicking up some dust coming through the stadium. Oh my goodness me, that is Horror fending off the advances of David Pichada, hanging on desperately to 7th position. Oh my goodness. Now that is the thing with this circuit. The only place you get all the horses galloping is really through Parabolica, the long sweeping left-hander that we're about to come up to, turn 3 essentially. So this is all about how well you change direction. That sounds a bit of a strange statement, but this is more about setup and precision than it is about a high top speed.
The other big shot car, Maricek, losing another position after that off-track excursion towards the end of the opening lap earlier on that allowed Stepanovsky to move himself up into 13th position. Maricek now down into 15th as Urbanchik moves up into 14th in that Puma car in the background there. But it is single file just about as they get down into the braking zone for turn 6 once again. I saw that was Vakulchik, I think, battling with Shembera a little bit into turn 6 there. But refocusing back up at the front, there is Podstarter, who again started this race from 3rd position. David Pichada, by the way, as Chris pointed out, has had a very difficult start as well, has lost out 3 positions. Very similar to Podstarter. No, Podstata's down 2 positions. So actually David Pichada down even worse than Lucas Podstarter in the opening lap. So really unfortunate for the ERT drivers, but especially for Lucas Pichada, because he's not going to have that rear gunner. He's not going to have his brother with him to pile that pressure on. He really does rely on David to put the pressure onto his nearest rivals in order to help him out as much as he possibly can. But with 6 cars between the two of them, that's going to be a little bit difficult for David Pichada.
Somewhat, yeah. And Adam Pilo, first race in the series. I'm fairly sure I'm right in saying we've never seen Adam Pilo in the VGP. He's brand new to the series and qualified in the top 10. What a stunning effort. He's down 1 position, which, let's face it, with this field, it's nothing to be too upset about. As we now ride on board with the current champion Podstarter, or we did briefly. What have we got to replay of? Now, there's a replay of the start. Martin Nadley. Now, watch out. And there, you see how the field completely bunched up. 4 wide with Podstarter right in the middle. Now, what happened to the Lenovo Legion car? Gets a great overtake on 2. That'll be David Pichada and Podstarter. He's getting back. Tried to shut the door on Podstarter. Now, because Podstarter then really hustles towards the top end of the field, that kind of undoes itself a little bit later on as we cut to Maricek fighting the second of the Lenovo Legion cars slightly further back. Everybody did do a good job of surviving the start. Not too many kind of door bangings, no huge dives, no dented bits of cars. So far, so good.
Yeah, and with the penalties being given out after the last race, it's no surprise. I think, we kind of expected things to settle down a little bit. Maybe the elbows are still out. The elbows are always going to be out in VGP, but maybe not quite as far out as they would have done otherwise. And also, just on the topic of Adam Pilo, just a fantastic job. And I just wanted to highlight that even further as Podstarter moved up into 4th position. He got past Svoboda, who is also having an incredible start to this race, by the way. He's coming under immense pressure from Martin Nadlik, though. Adam Pilo was only a couple hundredths of a second slower than Martin Nadlik in today's qualifying for this race. So really impressive stuff from the VGP rookie, because we know how quick Martin Nadlik is specifically in the GT3s. He is a bit of a GT3 specialist, currently running in 6th position. He's up 1 place from where he started and all over the back of Svoboda, who has not really been challenging for the the top 5 throughout the course of this season. So this is going to be one of those situations where certainly Nadlik is going to be thinking, oh, this will probably be an easy maneuver. Svoboda hasn't really been featured at the front at any point this season, but I have to say, Svoboda is holding that position quite well.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a fairly quiet or comparatively quiet start to the season, and then suddenly he qualified right towards the front. Absolutely fantastic stuff. That really caught me by surprise. Oh no, what's our champion done? This will be the move on Svoboda then. So, as I predicted, this is the heaviest braking zone in the entire circuit. Svoboda went a little bit deep. He realised he couldn't close the door to pod starter. Very well, very well observed there by Svoboda. He realised if he turned in, that was going to send both of them off, or particularly the Kavago car, off into the dust. So he had the foresight to realise I can't go there. So he had to go deep to avoid impact. Very nicely done. But he's immediately under pressure now from Martin Nadlik in the Lenovo Legion car. The second of the Entropic cars, Martin Siratek, is still right on the heels of Lucas Bajard, and that's what we saw last time out, didn't we? It was Stefanko that was always had a little bit of company for a while, and then just decided to flex his right foot a little bit more and just disappear off into the distance. But Stefanko is a little bit further back now. Stefanko, with a points lead in the championship, doesn't have to do anything in particular. He could come second, he could come third without too much worry, but Lucas Brachada is going to be pushing for every single point he can possibly find. Further back, we've got Shambera, Vakulchik and Michael Lehman trying to work his way through the field, of course starting from the pit lane following penalties from Donington Park last time out. He's left Kiesel and Brunner behind, so Brunner's had a bit of a trouble start in the second Navitel car, and again coming back up to this battle for 5th position. Svoboda still fending off Martin Nadlik. Right behind as well is Thomas Hora and David Pajada still having their argument for 7th position, as well as Adam Pilo and Thomas Hermock actually in the second Kavago car. Whoa, that's a big move. You don't often find a move there. Oh, Struth. That's the Mobile 1 curve. You do not find many moves there, but it's that was a great attempt from Vakulchik in the ESET car to try and do something about his position. Did not quite pay off. There's not really a lot of braking going on there, so if you're going to make a move there, you have to do it much earlier than that. But I mean, worth a try, I guess, but no harm, no foul on this occasion.
Yeah, Michael Lehman was lapping, last I checked anyway, almost a second and a half quicker than Vakulchik and Shambera, who were running fairly close to one another. So, I think Michael Lehman keen to get a move on. He wants to make the overtake as quickly as he can to try and get out from behind those guys. If he's got that kind of one-lap pace, he's going to certainly be looking to flex that and try and overtake as many cars as he can before even getting into the to the pit stop phase. Michael Lehman might be another driver as well, just to keep an eye on. Ooh, that was David Bachata in the background there, just having a late look. Yeah, he had a late look at the big shock of Hora, and that put him offline ever so slightly, and that's got to give Pilo a good run onto the back of him. But I don't think he's gonna run out of track a little bit before they get into the braking zone for turn 8. But yeah, Michael Lehman much quicker than the cars around him as it stands right now, and already making up positions, moves himself up into 17th position. Again, finds himself down at the back there due to a penalty from the previous race, though. So he's definitely going to want to avoid shooting himself in the foot here and avoid any sort of misdemeanors or anything like that while making these overtakes, because again, he was lapping in the 136s, which is actually quicker than what Svoboda is doing. Speaking of Svoboda, I suspect, and let me know what you think about this, Chris, I suspect he might be on a low downforce setup, because he really does seem to be the cork in the champagne bottle here. He's got a bit of a train going on at the moment, but similarly, Nadlik just seems nowhere on the straights compared to him.
Could well be. It's a little bit more risky to go low downforce. Well, it depends how low we're talking, of course, because like I said earlier, there's no there's no really long straight. There are quite a few corners here, and most of the corners are relatively slow, so you're not going to use downforce to a huge amount, but there's nowhere really to utilise a lot of horses. So it could be that Svoboda's gone low downforce. If that's where he's gone, or indeed whatever direction he's gone in, he's making it work. But whoa, that's Thomas Hermark, the second of the Carvago cars. The Carvago train is this. It's bookending this entire pack, 5th to 10th. It's Svoboda to Hermark, all bookended by this particular pack. So you could just about see the teammate. There he is at the front of the train. Yeah, you are certainly right. There is definite downforce difference between Svoboda and Neidlich in particular. And yeah, you can see there's a gap then forming between Neidlich and Horror. So there's a similar kind of downforce difference there. So Horror's got a very different downforce setup. It just means he can't quite keep it all in the corners. As we see, that was Adam Pilo going a little bit deep through the Mobile 1 curve, coming into Sachs curve now through the stadium in towards the Sud curve, keeping it just about on the straight and narrow. Further up front, there is our race leader, Lucas Pajada, not with a lot of daylight between himself and Martin Siritek. Martin Stefanko biding his time, just staying with the leaders. He knows he doesn't have to do anything, no particular pressure behind to pod starter. What's that? 2.4-ish, 2.4 seconds between the ESET and second Entropic car. But one mistake is all it takes. I've often said that's what the gap is for the lead two. That's what half a second looks like here in Hockenheim. You can see just shy of a second back to Stefanko, who's just out of the shot. We'll see him appear. You saw Siritek kind of backed off a little bit. You saw that gap just suddenly grow very slightly. Siritek is also biding his time. He's not close enough to make a huge move. But equally, he doesn't want to be doing that too much, because that's going to help Martin Stefanko really get involved in the battle.
And I suspect, because it wasn't, was it last race or was it the race before? I'm actually having a hard time remembering now. But Martin Stefanko doing the overcut recently to great success. Oh, that is Martin Neidlich's the front end of his Mercedes AMG GT3. We got one final really up close view of it of that front grille. Again, it's not a huge change that we're moving to. We're moving to the GT3 Evo for next season, and this was actually news to us, but that means it is technically the final run for this very specific car. So it's good to see that we're giving it a good send off and going to Hockenheim for the first time as well, which I think is also a very suitable venue for this car in particular, and for Mercedes in general. So a great way to kind of finish off the first half of the season. But Svoboda really does still seem to have that straight line speed. He runs a little bit wide at the outside of turn one. I'm not sure exactly what the track limit warnings are going to be like at that particular corner here in iRacing, because of course this is in iRacing as it has been in recent seasons. But Svoboda doing a really good job. His lap times are coming down. He's now down into the high 136s, down from the low 137s, but I suspect mainly that's just kind of fuel burning off. But yeah, just to go back to the top three, I've really got my eye on Stefanko here, because I think he may just be lying in wait and possibly looking to do an overcut again.
Yep, I fully agree with that. I love these webcam shots. I know we've spoken about them many, many times, but Neidlich, you can see the focus on his face. Svoboda looks relaxed. Yeah, he looks... Yeah, I'm sure it's a very different feeling, because when you've got someone's headlights bearing down on you, boring a hole into your own face from the rearview mirror or whatever you're using, it does weigh on your mind. It does put the pressure on, but he seems to be handling it really, really well. And that gap between Neidlich and Horror does kind of ebb and flow a little bit, as we've said. What we're not seeing, we're seeing this from Neidlich. We're not really seeing this from anybody else in this train. We're not seeing move and then defend, move, defend, move, defend. Neidlich is kind of jumping out of that slipstream a few times. Oh, it's Neidlich that runs a little bit wide on that final turn through the Sud curve. But we're not really seeing that from anybody else. David Ricciardo has made a few attempts to make it. Oh no, trouble for Lehman before I come to that. And there he is, that's where it is. Oh no, I was going to come on to say actually that he's done a brilliant job going through the field, but I commentated Kirsten before he even chanced to get him to say the sentence. So that's an impressive trick. So that's at Sud curve. I suspect he's either gone too deep onto the grass and the rear wheels have just gone, you're having a laugh, sir, and round he's gone, or there was a potential impact there. We'll hopefully catch a replay of that particular incident. Does look like the gap between Podstarter and Svoboda, 4th to 5th, is growing a little bit. So Podstarter doesn't seem to be in a huge hurry to try and chase off after the top 3, or he's got nothing left in the tank. And again, look how close Nadlik gets under the braking. Like you said earlier, Justin, this is where his setup is stronger. He's in the corners, he's where he's got a little bit of advantage, but it's not really paying off. It's not enough of an advantage to then force the issue. He's going to try and force the Carvago car into a mistake. Oh, I thought the tail was getting a bit lively then on Miroslav Svoboda's car. I thought that's where the mistake was going to kick in, but not quite. He managed to catch that one. But yeah, absolutely stunning effort from Svoboda. I'm just going to double check his results.
He's not finished higher than 12th so far this season.
And indeed, yeah, he didn't finish last time out in Donington Park. Yeah, 12th opening round as well. Oh, Stepanovsky for Benzina. What's happened to you? Okay, that's one of the ERT
He's
cars
in the background there.
What's he done? Okay, so this will be what happened to Lehman. Oh, that was... okay. That was a bit too desperate from Michael Lehman, I think. That's not really a passing spot there.
No.
You can do it, but Svoboda was only ever going to shut that door. That wasn't quite where I thought the incident had happened. Oh, is this an opportunity then for Nadlik? Whoa, that's a long way back. Now, he's been lining this up for a while. Can he get this one done? And yes, he can. Svoboda couldn't cut back underneath him. So down into 6th then for Miroslav Svoboda, which is still a very, very good result for him if he were to finish there. But he's, of course, going to nail himself onto the back of the Legion car. It did look like, as we've alluded to before, that Martin Nadlik had that pace advantage over Miroslav Svoboda. So that move did seem to be inevitable, but even still, it took a few laps for Nadlik to get that one done. And so a change then for 5th position. Will Nadlik then chase off after Podstarter? He got a 4-second gap? Yeah, about 4-second gap that he's got to close down before he can challenge for 4th.
And it's around about 2.6 seconds now between Stefanko and Podstarter, so kind of ebbing and flowing, but not a lot of gap starting to form. Great to see, by the way, despite Svoboda losing out to Nadlik there, great to see both of the Carvago cars in the top 10, especially considering they are a new sponsor to the series, brand new to 2022, and they're running 2 rookies as well, so to see both of them running in the top 10 has been absolutely fantastic. Hermach has, been one of those drivers that kind of features in the lower parts of the top 10 all throughout the season. Whether he finishes there or not, he tends to be involved in the fight for the lower top 10 positions. But it's great to see Svoboda having his day as well too. Again, hasn't finished higher than 12th so far, and we're coming up to 36 and a half minutes remaining in this race, and he's still holding on to that 6th place position quite well. I don't know if Hora is running a similar sort of downforce as Nadlik. It'd be very interesting to see. And also, now that Svoboda has dropped behind Nadlik, he's going to be picking up that slipstream, and he's going to be even faster in a straight line. So potentially he could be, going right back on the offensive to try and take back that top 5 position. Certainly Carvago would appreciate that top 5 position. But there is Stepanovsky, who's got a drive-through. So actually, the stewards have ruled in favor of Michael Lehman on that one. They feel that he was actually deserved room on that one. It did look like Stepanovsky kind of went a bit wide at the entrance of that penultimate corner, so I was a little confused on that one. But good to see the live stewarding coming through, and that being decided right away. We don't have to go into check out social media later or anything like that. Always great to have the stewards' decisions live during the race.
I'm a little surprised by that. I felt that Stepanovsky had that, but the stewards have way more. Way more angles. They have the opportunity to review the footage.
Yes.
We don't. We only get the one snapshot of it from the replay that we share with you lovely people watching along at home. I personally felt that Stepanovsky had the line to that. He did get a little bit squiggly coming through the corner. Either way, he's now serving his drive-through penalty. It does seem that Jan Bruno for Navatel has been in the pits a while, so he has had trouble. David Pachada getting a bit of a run on Thomas Horror, but can't quite get it done. And Horror going for a bit of an early apex. That's I thought he was going a bit early for that hairpin apex. That's going to put them side by side. That's not likely to go David Pachada's way. unless he can hang on to... Oh! So David Ricciardo was sufficiently alongside. There's damage to the front of his car, and he's gone too deep. So there is damage to the front of his car, and he's really struggling now. Now that didn't look that big an impact, but that clearly was much bigger than it seemed to from that aerial shot. David Ricciardo now tumbling through the field with damage to that front right corner.
Yeah, clearly not just bodywork, some sort of mechanical damage to that front right, because he is really limping along. He slips down into 12th position behind Eric Vizzi, who now finds himself knocking on the door of the top 10 despite his difficult qualifying down in 13th position. David Ricciardo surely is going to be coming into the pits now, because he cannot continue at that kind of rate. That's just he's just going to lose way too much time. But hopefully it's not going to be too much of an issue in terms of his repair time and all of that kind of stuff. Hopefully he can get out. We were coming up to the pit stop window anyway, so certainly he can fuel up and make it to the end. So this can be his one and only pit stop, but it is going to be a slow pit stop due to needing those repairs after that contact. So really unfortunate for David Ricciardo. Again, he was already really not going to be too much help to his brother and teammate Lucas Ricciardo, who still is leading this race. I feel like we really haven't talked about Lucas at all at any point during this race, but that's just because he's doing such a dang good job. Martin Sirotek as well, I have to say, doing a fantastic job as well too. Sirotek has been one of my favorite drivers of this season. I have to say he's been quietly getting on with the job of being the teammate of the reigning champion, which is such a difficult thing to do. We see it in sport and motorsport all the time. It's such a difficult thing for somebody to come in and just become the teammate of a champion like that. And I think he's doing an absolutely incredible job this season, and today is just really highlighting that job.
Yeah, 100%. And other than Daytona, Martin Sirotek has been in the top 5 in every single round so far. Sadly, Daytona he was 17th, but he's been 5th twice, 4th last time out in Donington, and was 3rd at Austria. So yeah, he has seen the podium this season, so his improvement from last season has been pretty impressive indeed. Here's another new team to the VGP series, the Puma squad. Obanchik is one of the pilots of the Puma cars, the plain black, again, very striking colour scheme, just with the Puma logo on, as he's continuing to chase one of the big shot cars. That's Maricek for 12th position. That's Obanchik is trying to put some pressure on. Background of the shot, there's Vikulchik, the second of the ESET car, ESET cars, beg your pardon, with Michael Lehman, the recovering Mecha Rawful sim car from starting towards the tail end, and also that spin following the impact with Stepanovsky. Now it does look like, you can see on the tower, when the number goes pink, it means that the car whose time has gone pink is within half a second of the car in front of it. So Sirotek is within half a second of Lucas Ricciardo. Adam Pino is within half a second of Thomas Horror, and looming around the half second point further down was, I think it was Vikulchik and Lehman. So you've got a few potential battles forming. Lucas Ricciardo may have to start looking in his rearview mirrors a little bit more. Stefanko still just looming there, just doing what he needs to do. And voila, nicely done, camera operator. There is the top 3. Does look like Sirotek has got his foot down a little bit more. You can see from the lap times, a 36.2 from Sirotek last time around. It's really starting to push. So that's Thomas Horror for the Big Shot car, Big Shot team, coming in for his mandatory stop. There he is. One mandatory stop must be served per driver. So sometimes some drivers already come. Hey, was that a drive-through, or did he serve it already? We didn't quite see when he came into the pits, so he may have. No, that was a standard stop for Thomas Horror. So nicely done, back out in 11th position. But Sirotek looks like he means business. Now is this Stefanko pushing up? No, that's just the way that they concertina up under braking. Or is it? Oh, it does look like Stefanko now within half a second of Sirotek. Is he starting to push on a little bit more to get involved? Lap times around. Actually, Ricciardo was the slowest, only by a couple of tenths, but that's all you need in this particular series to be caught, to be chased down. The field is so talented, and so the margin or the difference between each car can be very, very minor.
Yeah, it's so close between the top three, and I love that we're seeing 3 different teams being featured as well with ERT, Entropic, and ESET. It really is all about the teams with E at the start of their name this season, though. That really does seem to be a bit of a theme going on, but great to see 3 different teams being featured at the front like this. Podstata, by the way, continuing to drop back. That gap has now built up to about 3 seconds, so he's not falling back at an absolutely enormous rate, and we are going to find out what happened here with Thomas Hora, and we can find out why he was into the pits, and that was through turn 7 there, and that was that contact actually with David Pichata. So that may have been a penalty potentially, or he may have just been feeling the effects of that knock to a slightly smaller extent. But just back to what I was saying, Podstata has slipped back even further. It's now about 3 seconds. Not massive. He's maybe losing half a tenth every other lap or so. So yeah, it's really not massive amounts, and I think it's mainly to do just with the fact that he's not picking up any slipstream at this point. Podstata kind of slipped out of the slipstream early in the race, and I really do think that's going to be affecting him. And it's not just going to be affecting his lap time, it's going to be affecting his fuel consumption as well. So I wonder if Podstata is potentially going to be one of the earlier front runners to come into the pits.
Could well be, but what Podstata really could do with is Sirotek trying to attack Lucas Pichata. Because if this pack of 3 really start to fight, that's going to help Podstata close in and get involved in this podium battle. So that's what Podstata could really do with. But that's easier said than done. That means having some kind of pace advantage over Lucas Pichata. Good luck with that, quite frankly. He's always been. He's been off the podium once all season long. Won the opening race in Imola and only failed to... He's been second every other race except for Austria, where that race didn't go well for him. He finished 6th, so still within the top 10 on that occasion. He's been second mainly to the car behind... Try that sentence again. Car's a couple of positions behind him, which is Martin Stefanko. All the words are getting muddled up and all completely wrong at the moment. David Pichata's back out the pits, a few laps down, but he's served his mandatory stop, so he could gain some time. If a safety car comes out, which we have seen a few times in the season, that could help him get back involved in the fray, but safety cars are not particularly common in Hockenheim. The runoff areas, as you can see, actually accentuated by that overhead shot there. There is David Pichata. Now on the back of Martin Kiesel for the Puma squad. That's a very long way off. You careful doing that, David. You will get penalties if you do that too often. He could get involved in it. It's unlikely we'll get a safety car here because there's generally quite a bit of area on the outside of the track that any stranded cars can come to rest without aggravating anybody else.
And funnily enough, yes, that is Kiesel, that he is right behind. Oh man, just the way that the car lifts up as it goes over the curbing through 3 and 4 just does not instill confidence in me in David Pichata's car there. But actually he is a couple of laps behind Kiesel. He's going to have to essentially unlap himself and then get a move on. I do hope for David Pichata's sake, though, that the car is drivable and that he can start putting in pretty decent lap times. I'm not going to say, boy, I hope there's a safety car just for David Pichata because that would mean somebody else has had something horrible happen to them. And yeah, I'm not looking to trade one person's misfortune for someone else's. And that was a great overhead shot of seeing how the top 3 take that Nord curve, that turn 1 here at Hockenheim. Because again, the first time that we're ever racing here in VGP. And you could see that they actually were running quite wide. They're using all of the curbing there. But I assume that they're not being penalized. You know, they wouldn't be doing that lap after lap if it was giving them a 0x or a 1x or any of that kind of stuff. They wouldn't be risking that sort of stuff, I don't think. So Urbanchik and Michael Lehman both into the pits for their mandatory pit stop. Just over 25 minutes remaining, and the top 3 still running in very close proximity. Not quite as close proximity as they were doing a few laps ago, but still just about a second between all 3 of them. And Podstata, again, still within about 3 seconds or so. That gap seems to have stabilized ever so slightly. He's going to be another person, I think, that is going to be really hoping for some sort of safety car, I think, potentially, because Podstata, you know, just with his racecraft, may think that he has a chance at a podium position here, if only he could get within slipstream range of this top 3.
Absolutely. And look at the lap times last time around. 36.485 from Pachada, 36.423 from Siratek, 36.353 from Stefanko. Barely over a tenth between the three of them. We'll see what it is again on this particular lap, because again, that looked pretty flawless from all three of them. 36.1. Wow, goodness me. Now Lucas Pachada starting to press the loud pedal a little bit harder into the firewall. 36.1. That's not quite the fastest lap. We did see a 36 flat from Siratek and from Stefanko a little bit earlier on. But yeah, so a tenth between Lucas Pachada and Martin Siratek, and half a tenth between Siratek and Stefanko. So again, that usual kind of ebb and flow. No one's still kind of trying to attack anyone just yet. I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see these three come into the pits, probably one after another, but then Stefanko, like you said earlier, Justin, Stefanko is the one that kind of bucks the trend. He's the one that will do something different. A part starter, 36.1 as well, so he did gain a couple of tenths on Stefanko that last time around, even without any slipstream. Wow, that's someone that's struggling in this heat. It's certainly very warm over here in the British Isles. I'm assuming it's pretty warm over for you stateside as well, Mr. Justin. And it looked pretty warm where Podstarter is. He just wants over that sausage curb. Yeah, coming back to what you were saying about track limits turn 1, as long as you're kind of hanging on to the rumble strip, you aren't realistically going to gain anything. If you go completely off the rumble strip and with your foot absolutely pinned, yes, you're going to gain an advantage and you're going to be penalised for doing that. But hanging on to the rumble strip, because he just aggravates the car that little bit, you don't gain anything from doing it. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's no penalty. Like there, just running that tiny bit wide off the actual tarmac but onto the rumble strip is absolutely fine. We'll see how Podstarter does it. Yep, just remains within. And you can see where you've almost got like a wider or a double line of the rumble strip at the beginning part of the corner as Svoboda comes in for his pit stop, along with Thomas. Oh, both the Carvago cars have come in at once. And then you have a narrower part of the rumble strip just after that. So as long as you're basically not hitting too badly that AstroTurf, you'll be fine.
Right at the halfway point, by the way, for the two Carvago cars. So, again, newcomers to VGP is our Carvago. Great to have new sponsors coming in. No surprise either with 2022 and how competitive 2021 was. But yeah, great to see them coming in with new drivers and doing well. Svoboda, last I checked as well, was quite close to the back of Nadlik still. He was still within touching distance of Nadlik, which again is hugely impressive. Martin Nadlik is one of the best GT3 drivers, one of the best drivers that we've ever had in VGP full stop. So the fact that Svoboda is having that kind of pace and that kind of confidence in the car is great to see, fantastic to see, and I hope that continues on. Of course, unfortunately for him though, we're going to be moving into the single-seaters for the next round. We have a nice long break though for him to practice, and there we go. Stefanko does indeed buck the trend. It is going to be Lucas Pachada that comes in at the end of this lap, and it is going to be Sirotech that follows him through. But Martin Stefanko, your current championship leader, one-time champion of VGP as well, he's going to stay out for at least one more lap, maybe two as well. We've seen him do it before.
Yeah, we have, and it's paid off for him every time he's done it. And it's not just Pachada and Sirotech. Look at that, Podstarter, Nadlik, Pilo have all come in and Dander, Alish Dander for Benzina has come in as well. Eric Vizzi doing the same kind of strategy. So Martin Stefanko has made that overcut work brilliantly well for him in the past, and I fully imagine he'll make it work for him again. You saw the look of determination, that real intense focus on Stefanko's face as we cut to his particular webcam. Look at that. Most of a good half the field at least have all come in. There is Pilo coming out. He's coming out sixth. Oh, that's Svoboda that's come past. So again, that's going to be, I'm really interested to see that particular battle. So Pilo qualified in 8th position, now running in 7th post pit stop. Now Stefanko won't fall that far down. He may even remain in the lead. He's done that before now. So yeah, further pit stops aren't going to promote Pilo further up the field. So, only other people's issues are going to do that. Lucas Pachada and Martin Sirotech still attached to one of the Podstarters, much closer though. Much closer this time. So he could well get involved in the battle for the podium positions before the checkered flag falls. And the Entropic, so that puts the Entropic pair together and almost on track as well. In comes Stefanko, so just one further lap for the championship leader. The EZ Ace is now coming in. What can he do? Will he retain the lead? If anybody can, Stefanko certainly can.
Podstata chopped off a couple of seconds from that gap during the pit stop phase, so you're right, he's closed in significantly on his teammate. It's going to be very interesting to see where Stefanko comes out in all this. He's still stationary in the pit lane as it stands right now. Sirotek and Pichata coming through the final corner. They'll be powering down towards the finish line now, down towards turn 1 as well, and there is Stefanko starting to move. He's going to have a slightly shorter run down towards turn 2 with that inside run, and he's going to come out comfortably ahead. He's going to be carrying slightly less speed down towards turn 2 compared to the cars ahead of him, so that gap is going to get significantly smaller on the run down towards turn 2. But now everything is even Stevens, and it's 1.5 seconds between the two of them. Lucas Pichata, though, has his tires already up to temperature. He's going to look to be using that to his advantage to see if he can close that gap down to Stefanko, to see if he can get that slipstream, because if nothing else, he's going to want to defend from Sirotek behind.
He's done it again! And you've got to think, he was, a second behind Pichata before the pit stop, so he's gained 2.5 seconds by pitting just one lap later, and probably pushed like absolute crazy on the in lap and to try and get away from his pit stall as quickly as he could. But my goodness me, how does he do it? How does he do it? He's giving ESET a very, very healthy dose of publicity, being yet again in prime position. But we still have just under 18 minutes left, and we've got literally the top 4. Actually, they are the top 4 drivers in the championship, both the Entropic guys and Lucas Pichata and Martin Stefanko, all top 4 in the championship, all in their positions. But yet again, Stefanko from Pichata. I would imagine Lucas Pichata's probably feeling a bit fed up with coming second. He was second a lot behind Podstarter. I say a lot, it was roughly half and half between Podstarter and Pichata. It was basically one bad race for Lucas Pichata last season that knocked him out of the championship championship runnings. For Podstarter then to keep that level of consistency and keep it up. But Sirotek, again, a storming effort there. Like we said before, he has been third before, but he really does look poised to challenge Lucas Pichata for second.
Podstata, though, just cannot seem to keep up. It was about 2 seconds when they came out of that pit stop phase. That's now grown to 2.4 seconds. You can visibly see how further back he is on this lap compared to a couple laps ago when they just came out of the pit. So Podstata is really feeling that lack of slipstream effect from the car ahead. I think he's another one of those cars that maybe went a little bit too high on the downforce potentially. I hate to say it, but I think the likes of Svoboda and those that went with from what we could tell, a quite low downforce setup. If you can make it work, it does seem to be slightly more beneficial. Lucas Pichata is another one of those who I suspect is on a low downforce setup as well. And I did wonder what kind of effect that was going to play on the tire wear. I've just noticed, because we switched to this battle between Alish Danda and Hermach. Hermach has moved up to 8th in that whole pit stop phase, so he's moved up a couple of positions. He was in 10th, and now Alish Danda is on the hunt for that 8th place position in the Benzina Orlen car. He is obviously the highest positioned of the Benzina Orlen cars, with Stepadovsky having a bit of a rough race so far here today, but there's still 15 minutes of racing to go, and look at that. Stefanko is in the 135s now.
And it's that moment when you can almost feel it from the commentary box. That's like Lucas Pichata's just gone, when he's seen that. He's pushing like crazy. He's built up, about 6/10 between himself and Sirotek. He is pushing with everything he's got, and the fastest lap still goes to Stefanko. It's one of those, I really feel for Lucas Pichata, because he's pushed so hard. He was really close to getting the championship last season. Let's say one this time out. He's had another 3 podiums since, and Stefanko has just turned up and said, this year's my year, and has found another gear, or he's just, whatever he's doing is just paying off brilliantly well. But Alish Danda, as you say, started 12th in this race and is right on the tail of Peter Hermach in the second Carvago car. I'm still really impressed by Miroslav Svoboda. That is my kind of highlighting as driver of the day.
Same.
Just because his storming performance so far, as he qualified right up in 6th, and that's where he finds himself at the moment. But as we said before, his highest finish so far has been 12th. A bit surprised by Eric Vizzi, although he is up to 10th now. He's also gained 3 positions in the course of the race. So, this GT3 season hasn't gone his way. But then I'm trying to think, I think he did get a bit stronger in the single-seater segment of the season. Yeah. As Justin said, we will be moving on to for the remaining half of the season. We bid farewell to this lovely AMG GT3 car that's been a mainstay of VGP since day one, pretty much. It has been a regular stallion for our drivers, and we bid farewell to this iteration of the AMG GT3 car. The Evo takes over from next year. So this car kind of doesn't get on the boat, basically. It just parks up in the Mercedes arena and it becomes a display piece after today's race. There is Eric Vizzi in the Lenovo Legion car, just sweeping through turn 1 with his eyes very much set on the argument between Hermok and Danda. Can he get involved in it? Well, he's got 13.5 minutes to do exactly that.
There's only a few teams that have both drivers in the top 10 in this race, and that is Entropic, Lenovo Legion, and Carvago, actually, if you can believe it. So Eric Vizzi moving himself up into the top 10 does give some more points to Lenovo Legion. They'll really appreciate that, of course, with them being so involved in the championship fight. But yeah, this has been an incredible race, and I have to say, a lot of storylines going on as well, too. And I almost felt bad for the leading trio in the first half of the race or so, because we had stuff like this going on in the midfield and even inside the lower portions of the top 10. I thought it was really interesting, the Svoboda versus Nadlik stuff. Pilo as well, filling in. Hermok is having a great day as well. Carvago just in general. Danda as well doing a great job. Lehman storming through the field despite that incident earlier on, that problem earlier on. He still finds himself up into 11th position. And who knows, with 12.5 minutes remaining, he could potentially pressure Eric Vizzi. Again, the lap times that Michael Lehman was putting in was quick enough to be challenging for the podium. So, I mean, we're talking, mid 136s and stuff like that. So he is very, very quick. He's within about 4 seconds of Eric Vizzi. 12 minutes remaining. I'd say, there's a shot. There's definitely a shot for sure. And also, it's just great to see Vakulchik, by the way, coming back in after a long break, missing from VGP, and doing a great job, still on the lead lap. And this is a pretty short lap as well, too. Just over 90 seconds, 90 and a half, just under 100 seconds, you could even say. But doing a great job. I remember a time where he and some other drivers would have gotten lapped maybe even a couple of times. But here we are, 11 minutes remaining, still on the lead lap. We haven't had any sort of safety car or anything like that to help him out. So yeah, this has been a really, really interesting first race for VGP at Hockenheim.
Yeah, absolutely, and really enjoying the action. The race has just absolutely flown by.
Yeah.
Hope that we do visit this track on many more occasions in the future, as riding on board with the Benzina All-in car of Alex Danda, once again keeping the pressure on Peter Hermok in the Carvago car for 8th position. Closest on-track battle we've got at the moment. And you could just about see Adam Pido's car. No, beg your pardon, that's not Adam Pido's car, because he's actually 10 seconds down the road. So that's possibly Kiesel. Can't really tell. No, that's not Kiesel's car. That's not a Puma. That's David Pachada that they are in the presence of. Now, whether they're closing in on David Pachada, possibly, because he was in 8th, wasn't he? So when he had his incident. So they're probably on a similar pace at the moment. If David Pachada is caught by these two, then he will of course have to let them go. But yeah, without a safety car, David Pachada wasn't ever really in with an opportunity to close in. A great jam. I think he's actually brought his car into the pits. He realises there's nothing more he can do with 10 minutes remaining. A huge shame. But that is racing, isn't it? I mean, even the greats can fall prey to someone else's mistake, which is exactly what happened for David Pachada. But this battle between Hermok and Danda continues on as we head down towards the split scare or the hairpin. I thought that was a bit deep there for Peter Hermont, but we've seen this a few times, particularly when we had that area shot of the top three earlier on, and you highlighted this as well, Justin, the different lines that different drivers take. Some drivers go a little bit deeper into that hairpin and then try and cut back for a later apex to try and maximise their exit speed. Some other drivers prefer a more smooth, consistent apex entry and exit. Different horses for courses, as the old English phrase say, whatever suits you and the setup that you're running. As we jump back to our podium 3, that's a little deep for Sirotek. He won't get away with that too many times, he would. But to do, what has Pavel Maracek done for Big Shot? The Big Shot pair were close. What's happened here? Oh, that was unlucky. Just tipped his rear left wheel off track.
Held.
And very, very well held. He caught that. If he'd left that literally a few pixels later, he'd have been round and possibly taken his teammate with him. But yeah, well caught there for Maracek. And that was such a narrow mistake as well. He just wandered that tiny bit too wide. Less grip out there on the outside of turn 1. But didn't lose too much, only lost position to Thomas Horror. The Big Shot car still 12th and 13th.
I felt the initial D Euro beat start up in my head the moment I saw him dip that wheel in the grass at turn 1. I was like, oh yeah, I know what's about to happen here. But yeah, very, very well headed. And as you said, hugely important as well too, because the car behind was his teammate, and they're both running in the points. And Big Shot, they want to pick up all the points that they can get. But Maracek is going to be absolutely kicking himself. I'm sure he would have loved to finish ahead of his teammate. Keeping in mind, Thomas Horror, a bit more of a veteran of the series compared to Maracek, so I'm sure he would have loved to finish ahead of him on merit. That would have been fantastic. He is keeping up to the back of Thomas Horror, though. You can see he's actually just gotten within 0.5 of a second. So he may go for a little bit of a move here. He may look to try to get back into 12th position, but he's certainly not going to be pressuring Michael Lehman for 11th position or anything like that. Speaking of which, though, Michael Lehman has gotten that gap down now to 2.6 seconds on Eric Vizzi. 7.5 minutes remaining. I don't think he's got the pace that he needs. I think Eric Vizzi is probably going to hold on to that one.
Ooh, is Podstarter going to be catching his teammate? Oh no, beg your pardon, I was looking at that wrong. I thought the Entropic cars were a bit closer together than they actually are. Actually, no, Podstarter's falling away. That's what confused me. That's not Stefanko that they've caught up with. That's the other one. That's Vakulchik, I think, that they've caught the back of. That completely threw me for a second. Stefanko is still 2 seconds ahead of Pichada.
That's David Pichada. So actually the two Pichada brothers are now right next to each other on track. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. So that is, beg your pardon, that is Stefanko. Yeah, but like you say, well, right behind you is David Pichada. So I got completely thrown for a second there. When I thought the Entropic pair were close together. No, they're not. It's David Pichada. He will have to get out of the way. He certainly won't want to be holding up his teammate. Certainly not with only 6.5 minutes to go. Well, he doesn't want to be holding his teammate up at all. But he needs to be getting out of the way. He'll probably just pull over he'll pull off the racing line now. Will he bleed up? Nope, he's going to carry on going. Now, the general ruling is you will be blue flagged if you are if you're, of course, being caught by a car that is more than a lap ahead of you, and you are allowed to unlap yourself from them if you are indeed quicker than they are, as long as you don't impede them when you do so. But this is David Pichada being caught. He's not unlapping himself from the lead. I'm sure he'd love to have pace enough to unlap himself from the lead trio, but alas, his race has just gone from bad to disastrous. And David Pichada starting, a decent 5th position right behind Martin Stefanko, following that what looked like a fairly small tap. And there we go, he's jumped completely off. So you don't actually have to do that. It would have actually been a little safer for him to do that move, which he's just done, which is pull to the inside line. Because you run the risk of spinning if you pull off onto the grass. He's running in last position, or last of the remaining cars. Stepanovsky has pulled his car into the pits a little while ago. You run the risk of spinning if you pull onto the grass like that. So the last thing you would have wanted to do is then spin by mistake and caught Podstarter, for instance. Having been the car that's made that very mistake, Yes, I wasn't very popular when I did that. I was being lapped, and unfortunately a small mistake whilst trying to get out of the way pitched me right into the path of the car that was lapping me, and it was the race leader. And yeah, let's not talk about that any further. As there were some very unbroadcast friendly words said to me afterwards, and it was 100% my own fault. I shouldn't have made the move. I was trying to get out of the way. You make those split-second decisions in the heat of the moment, don't you? But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I go for the commentary box. I do occasionally race, but I'd never be up to the level of these guys. As I've said before, these guys set lap times in the wet that I could only ever hope to get in the dry. So, you know, it's why it's always great fun to be shouting about their on-track antics. David Pritchard has decided to call it a day, park the car. I thought he did that a little while ago, but now he has. Put the car back into the pits. As we've just seen him being lapped, so that's been recovered back to the pits. Whether he had another incident or okay, he's now spinning his wheels. Okay, fair enough. He's just stamped his foot on the gas out of pure frustration, probably.
He's going to burn up those tires. I guess he doesn't need that. He doesn't need them anymore.
No.
He's going to possibly blow the engine as well, too, but he doesn't need that anymore either. Martin Sirotech has dropped back, if you ask me. He's not really piling the pressure onto Lucas Pichota. We haven't really seen him get within 7 cents within the last couple of laps. Martin Stefanko has further extended that gap from 1.5 to 1.8 seconds to now 2 to 2.2 seconds or so, depending on where they are at any given time in the lap. Podstata has continued to drop back as well, too. It's now about 3.2 seconds between the two Entropic cars. So Sirotech really is well and truly firmly the quicker of the two Entropic drivers here at Hockenheim this week. Again, I've been really quite in awe of Sirotech's season, and I think he's actually done better than the amount of points that he has would indicate. And by the way, I do believe it's going to be 2 more laps. I think it's going to be this one and then 1 more because it's about 3 minutes 10 seconds, and I think there was just about 3 minutes when Stefanko crossed the line. So I think this is the penultimate lap. I believe it's going to be white flag next time by for Martin Stefanko, who again has built that gap to over 2 seconds, looking rather comfortable. He also has the healthiest tires out of everybody in the top 3, in case if there wasn't enough. And David Pajada has indeed come back out. He's come back out just ahead of Michael Lehman, who will take any sniff of a slipstream that he can get to try and close up to Eric Vizzi, and he has gotten within 2 seconds, so I was right that they were very close to having a battle for 10th position, but I think Eric Vizzi's lap times are just a little bit too much for Michael Lehman, and I think he's going to hold on to that.
Indeed. And yeah, look at that gap. You can see it's visibly bigger now. That even though the timing still says around 2 seconds, it just looks like it's just growing that little bit more. You know, Stefanko's just been untroubled. I'm very curious on why David Pichardo came back out. Maybe he came out for something to do. That confused me a little bit. But, as you say, over the line for the final time. There is the white flag, the most enthusiastic flagman in all of sim racing. It travels all around the iRacing world and doing the business with the white flag. And Sirotech, unless he can force that last minute mistake onto Lucas Pajada, and again, good luck with that, then it's one of these things that he's going to have to chase home. But he's done a great job to, as a secure. We obviously aren't there yet, but he's looking good for that 3rd position. Lucas Pajada, another 2nd on the board still. All valuable points for ERT, especially as his brother is 5 laps down from the field. But Martin Stefanko, another absolutely flawless victory. We said this last time at Donington, didn't we? This is almost Smiddle-esque, isn't it? Smiddle was just, untouchable. Particularly in 2019, was it? That he won every single race. I think it was 19 that he won every single race there was. Oh, there is David Pajada. To the back of the field with a reshape in front. That sums up his race somewhat. I think we mentioned that last time at Donington, that just untouchable performance. Again, it's the initials MS. MS or old P, and you're on good form.
Just a couple. couple corners left for him. He's going to cross the line, and it is going to be rather comfortable. He's actually extended that even further, more than 2 seconds as he crosses the line. No, he's gonna back off ever so slightly. Right as he crosses the line, it's another victory for Martin Stefanko ahead of Lucas Pichata, who is runner-up once again, but it is the other Entropic car of Sirotech who is going to be joining them on the podium. Pichata just didn't quite have what he needed in order to challenge the top 3. He tried so hard during the pit stop phase, didn't he? Got within 2 seconds or thereabouts of the top 3, but couldn't quite get close enough. Martin Nadlik is going to get a top 5 finish, though, and Svoboda is going to get his best finish, a 6th place finish for Miroslav Svoboda for Carvago, ahead of his teammate Pilo in his first outing as well in 7th position. Hermach with a great result in 8th. He found a couple of positions in the second half of the race. Alish Danda with some solid points for Benzina Orlin. Vizzy does manage to hold on to that 10th place position. Michael Lehman in 11th, Thomas Hora in 12th. Maricek couldn't get back past Thomas Hora in the end. Urbanchik and Shambera are going to pick up the final points of the race.
The podium 3, it's familiar names again, well certainly teams, Stefanko and Lucas Pichata, but Martin Sirotech, good to see him back on the podium for the second time of the season. Chased home by his teammate Lucas Pichata, the Nadlik, Svoboda, Pilo, great effort there as we've said, Hermach, Danda and Vizzy rounding out the top 10. Fastest lap, surprises no one, Martin Stefanko getting that one. I think there were actually a couple of quicker laps, but they weren't valid unfortunately. And Lehman all the way up to 11th, just outside the top 10 from starting towards the tail end of the field. Hora, Maricek, Abanchik, Shambera, Vakulchik, Kiesel, David Brujada. Not seeing the checker flag were Stepanovsky and Jan Brunner.
In the championship, it is Martin Stefanko who continues to lead. 21 points now is the gap between himself and Lucas Pichata. Another 40 points between Pichata and Podstata. And then it's just 5 points down to Sirotech, who finished ahead of his teammate David Pichata, slipping down, obviously, after not scoring any points at all here at the Hockenheimring. It was a difficult day for the second Pichata brother. He'll be unfortunate. He'll be feeling that one for sure. Miroslav Svoboda, though, up to 15th position with that one. Joseph Vakulchek, not quite scoring points, but he's he was very, very close. He was on the lead lap, I believe, so he's going to be looking to score points. And look at this, even closer in the championship, 11 points between ERT and ESET, and then just another 27 points down to Entropic. They're all the teams that have broken the centenary in terms of the amount of points that they've gotten so far in this season. Well, that is the first half of the 2022 season completed. We want to say thank you, of course, to all the drivers, everyone behind the scenes, and everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.